So we're going to talk about psychology, and our focus is in particular about where things go wrong. So then we're really referring to this subject as illness, so as a more sort of holistic term. So what does illness mean to us? So illness is a broad term referring to a state of poor health or a specific medical condition. And what that does, it actually disrupts our normal functioning of the body. Now, mental illness is a subset of that. So it's a subset of illness generally. Okay. And this pertains to disorders affecting mental health and well-being. So we need to understand what we mean by mental health, and we'll come to that in a short while. So we have mental illness, okay, and that impacts a number of different areas. So just like we talked about physical illnesses, where you can have fever, you can have fatigue, you can have vomiting, you can have diarrhea, you can have rashes. These are physical illnesses. You also have symptomatology when it comes to mental illness and how we package symptoms related to mental illness in a certain way and define that according to certain criteria. And then we judge from there, or we make a clinical expert opinion that this person has a particular anxiety disorder, for example, or they have psychosis, and that psychosis is a feature of them having schizophrenia, for example. So thoughts are affected. So, symptomatology related to thoughts, symptomatology related to emotions, symptomatology related to behaviors, and symptomatology related to cognitive functions. So these are some of the areas that we would focus on to define and sort of diagnose a mental illness. And they can include disorders like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, and many others. So mental illness, however, lacks obvious physical symptoms. Okay, and this is where the complexity arises. So because we live in a time, and that's the reality, we live in a time where everything is seen and described and engaged with from a physical perspective. And because of the philosophical underpinnings and the metaphysics of the kind of sciences that we engage with, which has taken out anything which is other than the physical nature of creation, and also related to matter. What we have done is we've just confined it just to this particular parameter. And hence, on the basis of this, it makes mental illness a lot more difficult to understand, because mental illness isn't always presented from a concrete physical perspective. It can be quite abstract. It can relate to things like thoughts, emotions, behaviors, cognitive functions, which have a cultural bias, and they can be relative, depending on the kind of different cultures that exist. So from that perspective, this area can be very, very complex, a lot more complex than we seem to think it is.